Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
All right, so the big, beautiful bill is taking shape. And as everybody said, given the level of tax cuts that Trump wants, well, there's really no way to get that except if you go after Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, or the Pentagon. Now, we know they're not going to go after the Pentagon, so guess what they're going after. But some Republicans like Josh Hawley know that much of their base actually relies on Medicaid and that it may be a disastrous move politically.
No one's going to get 100% of what we want.
House Speaker Mike Johnson today working to solve Republican in-party fighting.
I think we'll get everybody to yes.
As their proposed cuts to Medicaid divide the party. Late Sunday, Johnson unveiling their plan to cut hundreds of billions of dollars to Medicaid, fueling concerns it would leave millions of low-income and disabled Americans without care.
I continue to maintain my position. We should not be cutting Medicaid benefits.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley yesterday with an op-ed in the New York Times writing, if Congress cuts funding for Medicaid benefits, Missouri workers and their children will lose their health care and hospitals will close. It's that simple, and that pattern will replicate in states across the country.
We are struggling with rural health care coverage. And, Republicans, we need to be making that better, not worse.
Protesters today blocking the doors to one of the hearings on Capitol Hill where members of Congress dissect the proposed cuts, a critical piece of the big, beautiful bill President Trump has been asking for to fund his agenda.
With the one big, beautiful bill, we can ignite the second Trump economic boom and improve the lives of millions of our neighbors back home.
If the cuts are approved, it would go against what Trump said back in February.
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. Okay? This will not be read my lips. It won't be read my lips anymore. We're not going to touch it.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says the cuts would slash Medicaid more than ever before.
It's cruel. It's heartbreaking. Senate Democrats will continue to expose this devastating plan and fight for American families.
Listen. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. It's really like the frog in the pot of boiling water. This country got so stupid over time that at this point, people are just accepting the level of idiocracy that we're at now. The big, beautiful bill. They're debating the big, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
Do you understand how stupid as a country you have to be that you're speaking in these third grader terms about extremely significant legislation that will impact millions of lives? The big, beautiful bill. Wow. Okay. So a little more detail on what's in the big, beautiful bill. Republicans are seeking to extend Mr. Trump's 2017 tax cut. That's what it's all about, baby. And temporarily enact his campaign pledges not to tax tips or overtime pay. They want to partly offset the roughly $3.8 trillion cost of those tax measures, as well as plans to increase spending on the military and immigration enforcement by making cuts to Medicaid, food stamps, and subsidies for clean energy. The House Energy and Commerce Committee, whose portion of the bill includes major funding cuts and policy changes to Medicaid, plowed ahead through the night. The Congressional Budget Office has estimated that the committee's proposed changes, which are concentrated on healthcare programs, would save more than $900 billion over the next decade. And I believe the tax cuts are, last we looked at it, I think it was $771 billion, most of which go to the upper 68% income distribution. Much of the discussion centered on work requirements that the bill would impose on adult Medicaid beneficiaries without children, the centerpiece of the Republican proposal. The policy is expected to push millions of Americans off the program and achieve significant spending reductions. Just correction, it was 68% goes to the top 20% of income distribution. Under the provision, Medicaid beneficiaries would need to submit paperwork every month showing that they worked at least 80 hours or qualified for an exception. Many of the details of the work requirement in the bill were modeled on a program in Georgia, which has resulted in low enrollment and high administrative costs. Studies suggest that most Medicaid beneficiaries who would be subject to the new rules already work, and previous state experiments with work requirements nevertheless resulted in large coverage losses. Well, that's the point. That's the point. Because most people, when they hear work requirements for able-bodied people, they're for it. But the purpose of it is they know in the administration, you wind up with millions of people, because they've already tested it in Georgia. You wind up with millions of people, if you're talking about applying this nationally, who are going to lose coverage who are qualified for it. You're adding an extra barrier. You're adding an extra layer of obstacles to getting that coverage. That's the whole point of the policy.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so this is AOC, which, hey, man, I don't want to hear anything from people who are like, you know what? I don't like Steve Bannon, but he has a point here. I don't want to hear shit. She has a point here, okay? So this is what she had to say.
And the math is not adding up. They're trying to convince people that they are cutting millions of undocumented people from payroll, from Medicare, acting as though this is what's going to save it. Even if you believe everything that Republicans have said today, they are identifying 1 million, their claim, which I dispute, but if you believe them, their claim is that 1 million undocumented people are on Medicaid. So why are they trying to cut 13.7 million Americans off their health care? By the Republicans' own Energy and Commerce tweet this morning, their claim is 7.6 million people are somehow ineligible for health care. So why are they cutting 13.7 million Americans off their health care? They've asked us to read this bill, and we have. This bill bans the people that they kick off of Medicaid from even buying their own insurance from the Affordable Care Act exchange. So once you are kicked off Medicaid, you then can't even buy your own health insurance. It increases costs for people who they deem eligible and who are low income and forces them to pay even more. And if you have a private insurer, don't worry, you're getting screwed over too, because your healthcare premiums are going to skyrocket from the disaster that is happening from this bill.
Okay, so the point she's making there is part of how they estimate costs is how much money is coming in. So potentially, if you had a policy like this, these companies that post ACA and Medicaid expansion have set their rates based on getting that money coming in from the government. They're no longer getting that money from the government. They're going to increase the rates. So that's what she means about it affecting people with private insurance. Now, the provision that she's talking about there, and to be fair, I haven't had time to look into this, but given other absolutely deranged and almost arbitrarily cruel policies this administration has championed, it tracks the idea that once you kick them off Medicaid, they can't go to ACA. That is insane. So you're just basically going to put people in a position where they absolutely financially cannot afford health care.
Right. Yep.
And so where do they go if they can't go on Medicaid? They just die in the streets. Is that the plan? And this is why, again, I've been saying for a while, man, they want us dead. They want us dead. They know the AI and the robots are coming. They don't need as many of us anymore. So here's some of the protest. We saw a little bit of that in the early coverage. Now, the reason people like Josh Hawley are pushing back on this is because they know this is what every GOP town hall is going to look like if they go ahead with this, particularly because Medicaid is relied on by rural voters disproportionately. So this was inside the room.
The committee will come to order. The chair will advise the audience that disruption of a congressional business is a violation of law and is a criminal offense. Please come to order.
We will find you.
We will find you.
We will find you. So somebody who didn't care about that was Ben Cohen, co-founder of Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream. He went all Americone Dream on RFK's ass right in the middle of his testimony.
Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
Fish food for the win. That's what I tweeted.
Ben, why are you getting arrested?
Move down the hallway. If you stop, you will be arrested.
Poor kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pays for it by kicking kids off Medicaid in the U.S.
Ben, what are you calling for the Congress and senators to do for Gaza?
They need to let food into Gaza. They need to let food to starving kids. Congress is paying to bomb poor kids in Gaza and paying for it by kicking poor kids off Medicaid in the U.S.
Yep. And is this a popular policy? Not at all. Not at all. Every poll that's been done, spending cuts to Medicaid is deeply unpopular. 76% all adults, 95% Dems, 79% independents. And remember, elections are won and lost on the independents.
Yeah.
Even the GOP, 55% of people are against it. They are so determined to continue to pursue the zombie theory of Reaganomics, which has failed and failed and failed again to deliver this prosperity, this Lafleur curve that it was supposed to deliver, where you stimulate the economy so much with the tax cuts that it makes up for the loss in revenue because you have more people earning and paying into the taxes. It doesn't work, has never worked. The application of this theory is part of why we have such a tremendous budget deficit. It is the core reason why there has been a level of exploding wealth inequality that's causing increasing social instability, the decay of our infrastructure, the collapse of our society, of our civic society, of our ability to fund the basic needs of the poor. All goes back to decisions that, they started to make under Reagan. And whether Democrat or Republican, they will not let this idea go. Obama was going to negotiate away Social Security cuts with the Republicans. He tried to do a big, grand bargain with them. Clinton was looking at doing that. Joe Biden talked very fondly about the idea of cutting Social Security. This neoliberal theory is just the concept that will not die. This idea that they are so determined to give tax cuts to rich people. Now, Trump is a little more politically astute, so he's throwing in tips. How many people work for tips? I mean, some people, I've worked for tips. I'm not saying it's not relevant to you if you work for tips. How many people work for tips? How much money do you think that is? And look, that's a beautiful scam for them. Most people who make a lot of money in tips don't pay the taxes.
Right. They don't
pay the taxes.
Exactly.
So it's not, it doesn't even affect the government, but you get to pretend that you're standing up for the working people.
Exactly.
Not taxing overtime. That's a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of money that will go to the upper 20% of society under these proposed tax cuts. You're talking about ripping the whole society apart just to give tax cuts to people who do not need tax cuts. Will this kill them in the midterms? I mean, theoretically, I'm not confident given who the opposition is.
I think it will, and at this rate, we never predict. You can't lock in a
Also,
prediction.
one thing before you go, let me interject. I know the work requirement from the article is not supposed to kick in until 2029.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that issues like this are what doom you, especially in midterms where it's not a battle of personalities, right? It's more a referendum on the in party, and this is just devastating. Now, I don't think this is going to go through, but we will see. We will see if something like this goes through. Scott Jennings, CNN panelist, always, he has become somewhat famous for popularizing the term 80-20. Oh, you're on the wrong side of an 80-20 issue. Well, guess what? That looks like an 80-20 issue to me.
Yeah.
All adults,
Yeah.
76%. Independents, 79%. That, you're right. That is where elections are won and lost.
Right.
If independents are opposed to you 4-1 on an issue so existential as your access to medicine. This is not 80-20 on women's sports where a good percentage who agree with you are going to prioritize another issue over that. This is as existential as it gets. You can't be this brutal and not pay a consequence. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I never regretted not voting for her in 2016. But I remember in 2017, the day they were taking the Obamacare repeal vote in the Senate, I was on Obamacare at the time. My wife was at the time. We both were working an event that day, and we woke up thinking, better have a good show. This was a wholesale show where you're supposed to make enough money to fill orders for the next 6 months. We're like, this better be a good day because by the end of the day, we're not going to have healthcare anymore. That's what we just assumed. And then it came across my phone that John McCain gave the thumbs down, and oh, what a sigh of relief that was. Well, guess what happened? A year later, the Democrats took the House pretty convincingly. The Senate map was not in their favor that year, so they actually lost ground in the Senate because a lot of red states happened to be up for re-election, and there just wasn't the room for Democrats to overtake them. But in the House, yeah, they took a drubbing in the House because that kind of shit scares people. When you create an emergency situation, you make it very easy for the out party to win by default, which is what the Democrats are going to have to do because they suck. They can't win on the merits. They have to win by default. Shit like this makes it super easy for them to do that. You can't threaten to strip people of health care. Not only strip people of the health care they have, but make the fallback inaccessible, right? Because they can't go on the ACA either. So what the hell are they supposed to do? You're making it very easy for them to say, you know what? I'm voting against you by default. No questions asked.
It's true. And it's just amazing. Rich people, man, they're really hurting.
Right.
They're really hurt. They're not winning enough in the system the way it's currently set up.
Right.
You need to give them more money. This is what I mean.
$3.7 trillion.
It's a zombie idea. Trickle-down economics is a zombie idea. It's a religion. It doesn't even make any sense on its own terms at this point. How much more money do these people need to be able to invest? They don't have that. I mean, that's the theory behind it. It's bullshit, but that's the theory. They don't have enough money to invest now. You need more tax cuts. They can't They can't afford yachts. They can't afford houses. What can they not afford when you have people approaching $1 trillion in wealth? What can they not afford?
Yeah. Exactly. 3.7 trillion more. This is what all of this is in service of. The Medicaid cuts, the tariffs, all of this turmoil is so that they can give a tax cut to the rich. That's what it's all about.
You don't need the money, and politically, it's poison. This is what I mean. It's just ever since Reagan laid out this Milton Friedman theory, they're just obsessed with it to the point that it is a religion. They just won't even think about whether this makes sense. And really, if you want to find a rational motive behind it, Warren Buffett said it. Sure, there's a class war, and my side's winning it. It's a class war. Why do you cut services this way and give more money to rich people? It's to devastate and humiliate the poor. It's to assert your aristocratic dominance over the rest of society. That's the impulse behind it.
Please clap.